Welcome to another episode of the PS We Expire podcast. I am your host, Morgan Motzinger, and today I am recording from somewhere different. Usually I am at my home office and I record all of my podcasts and a lot of my videos from there. But today I'm out of town because yesterday was my daughter Annie's 15th birthday. And if you're new around here, she passed away in December of last year. So this has been a really difficult and beautiful and connected trip with my family, my husband, my two other children, and my mom as we just got away from our normal environment to just celebrate Annie's birthday in a different space. So we took a trip to Orcas Island, which is part of the San Juan Islands just outside of Washington State. Several years ago, and it was one of our favorite family trips that we've ever taken. So as we were anticipating celebrating Annie's birthday coming up, we thought, what could we do that was meaningful and also just helped us celebrate her in a new way? And so we decided to come up here. So we booked an Airbnb and made a weekend of it. It happened to fall on Memorial Day weekend, as her birthday usually does. And a couple of really lovely things has happened, one of which was being in the grocery store yesterday. I think it was yesterday on her birthday. And we were in the checkout line and Justin Bieber's Baby from, I don't even know how long ago that song came out, came over the PA system, which number one, like that's a really old song. Usually we don't hear that in public places anymore. And number two, it also was exactly at a time when we could hear it instead of just walking around the store. We were checking out, and that was one of Annie's very favorite songs. She loved dancing to that when she was little and singing along to that. And it made me tear up because I was like, oh, this is Annie. This is Annie here with us. And it was a really lovely, heartwarming moment. So anyway, I just was going to share that little personal blip before we get into today's episode. So thanks for joining me today. I'm really glad that you're here. Today, I have a guest, Courtney Koenig. I think it's Koenig. Anyway, Courtney is so lovely, and I had such a phenomenal conversation with her today. Courtney is a human design expert, and if you have not delved into the world of human design yet, I think that you will find it to be such a liberating and empowering tool when it comes to understanding your personality and your energy and how you interact with people in the world. Human design has made a really, really lovely impact on me. And there are many personality traits that for years, like decades actually, that I thought were distasteful or wrong or too much. I didn't really understand how to really listen and decipher what my deep desires are and feel like I could really integrate all parts of myself. So human design is a tool to unlock what is really going on beneath the surface and start living in total alignment. So Courtney Koenig is a human design expert, and she uses human design in her coaching business. And today we talk about what human design actually is and how to integrate it into our decision-making, into our parenting, into our creative pursuits. So I would really just invite you to listen with an open and excited mind as you learn about this new tool. Now, before I get into the episode, I do want to tell you that this ebook that I have on my website has human design as part of this ebook. So the ebook is called Know Thyself. And if you are into development, personal development, your spiritual development, if you're interested in knowing yourself better, this ebook is a great tool to introduce you to 3 of my favorite personality profiling tools, just to give you this permission slip to be exactly who you are. And human design is one of those personality profiling tools that I use in this free ebook. So you can go to my website, morganmotzinger.com, and you can find it on there, download your free copy, and just start taking notes on what resonates with you. So thank you very much for joining me for this episode of the PS We Expire podcast. I am so glad that you are here. Oh, Courtney, I'm so excited for my listeners to learn about human design from you today. Human design has been such a fun tool for me to just have this like permission slip to be exactly who I am. And so I want to first ask you about how you came to human design and what a difference that's made in your life. And then we'll shift into what exactly human design is and talk about the energy types and the gates and the centers and all of that stuff. So first, just kind of tell us like how you came to human design and what a difference that has made in your life.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks, Morgan, for having me on today. I'm so excited that we connected. And so I feel like everything's harmonic in life. So super excited to have a friend in Oregon. Um, so I came to human design, or human design found me. So I was launching a coaching program for social media. And when I was doing that, I was talking to one of my colleague friends, and she was like, "What's your human design?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what that is." But when she said that word, like, I literally can remember where I was, like what time of day it was. It was magical. I was like, "There's something here for me." So we pulled up my chart, and I was like, what does that even do for me? It's a crazy looking chart. I have no idea what this is. Does this hold any meaning? But I knew there was something there for me. And so I just pursued it. I was like, okay. So she connected me with a coach, a business human design coach. And when I was expanding my social media coaching, I had her on into my community. So we went through this, and I was like, okay, there is really something cool here. There's something magical here. So I did this deep dive into human design, and you can do that pretty easily, but a lot of human design is not approachable. It's a lot of like kind of like in the weeds and stuff like that. And so my human design type, and we'll get into this, is a projector, one of the 5 types. And what I do best is to see this bigger picture. So I'm really like, okay, if we want to make real change, here's how we're going to do it. And so I started doing that with my own chart. I was like, okay, this is the gift that it's saying I have. What if I did an experiment and leaned into that? How would that feel? So I did that for several months, and over the summer actually. And then I was like, okay, I feel more me, which means I feel more confident, clarity, courage, peace, like felt so much more freedom from this. And so I can't hold on to this just myself. I have to show other people what to do too. So I was like, forget that social media thing I was building and expanding on, forget it. So I stepped into human design, and I launched a coaching program. And in 6 months, it was in 6 different countries. So, and again, I didn't work harder. I wasn't more like 12-hour days slaving away. I just was more me, and I used those approaches in my business, and it expanded just naturally, organically. And it was so fun. It's been so fun too. And business can be fun, and that's what it should be, you know?
It makes sense that business becomes fun and life becomes more fun when we are tapped into activities and relationships and goals that really resonate and align with who we are at our core. So for anyone who has not heard about human design before, what you need, the only thing that you need to have in order to understand what your human design chart is and be able to pull that up yourself is you need to know your birth date, your birth time, and the location of your birth. Can you talk about why exactly those are important? And I know that there's like a lot of kind of different methodologies that are all married together to form human design, but can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, totally. So there's a lot of astrology and the I Ching and all these things that make up human design. But again, we can relate it to a personal development tool that's really personal. And so it's based on our date of birth, our time of birth, and our place of birth. And if you don't know your time of birth, there's some workarounds that I do for that to figure it out. But it makes it so personable because you're born at a specific time in a specific place, on a specific date. And so it brings about this chart, and this chart is based on the kind of the astrology of where the planets were and the movement of the sun and different things like that. But what we can take from that is, your human design chart is sharing with you how you operate best, how you support yourself fully, the gifts that you were born with. So if you love like Enneagram and strength finders and all these things, you're going to love this human design. It just takes it to this new layer because it's really personable, and it's very, we were talking about this before, there are a lot of layers to it. And so each person's, I think of each person as a building a puzzle. And so you put different pieces of the puzzle into the picture, and you start seeing this picture of yourself that you've never seen before. And it's really freeing.
That's a great summary of what personality profiling tools do for us, is that they give us the freedom to know that there's nothing wrong with there's no bad parts. There's nothing wrong with the way that we do things, that there may be resistance in our lives because we think, oh, I shouldn't be like that. And one of the greatest gifts of human design, along with some other tools for me, was like, it almost is like the same thing that happens when you travel to a different country. It's like you see, oh my goodness, like all of these people, they're eating different foods than I eat. They have different customs. They have different ways that they manage their relationships. They have different architectural structures. They have a different history there. And that my way of doing things in the location that I live is not the only way to do things. And so it's like being able to almost like travel to these different personality countries and be like, oh, I really love the way that they do this. So that means that that is right for me. If it lights you up, kind of in the same way that you said that when you just heard the words human design, like something pulled you to that, in the same way that when we learn things about ourselves through different tools, when we feel a pull to that, when we feel a resonance with that, we can know that that is activating something that is true for us. And so human design, as you look at your chart and you kind of delve into it and you understand even just the very first thing, which is the energy type, there is a certain level of like resonance, and something lit up in me when I saw that. And when I started to read the description of what this energy type was, because I was like, oh my gosh, like these parts of me that I thought were bad or wrong, or I didn't understand them. I didn't know how to wield them for good, I guess. It was like this chart was like, everything about you is like just great. And anyway, so can you talk about the 5? First, we'll just scratch the very, very surface of this and just talk about the energy types and kind of give like a very brief overview of each of the 5 energy types.
Yes. So there are 5 energy types. This is the first stage where I always tell people, if you can do, you can learn about your energy type and you can lean into those traits and characteristics and support systems, you have already won. You've done so much good. So there's 5 energy types, and we break down the energy types into 2 different categories, which is helpful. It's the energy beings and the non-energy beings. So you and I are in the non-energy being category. So you are a manifestor, which is one type. I'm a projector and a reflector. Now, even just noticing like, our types don't have this excessive amount of energy. Our energy goes in ebbs and flows, waves, and just like the ocean, it comes in and goes out. There are times where we're like, we're very efficient and we can get a lot done, and we can lean into that. But there's also times where our body is saying, hey, you need to slow down. You need to take a break. And we can listen to those messages within our bodies, and we can say, okay, I will actually follow this. I'm actually going to support my body. And what does that tell our soul? Like, you know what? I'm going to listen to myself. That is huge. And that little change, that little micro betterment makes all the difference. So I have always loved a good nap in the afternoon, and all I need is like 15-ish minutes. I just need a nice little rest and stuff. But in the past, pre-human designing myself, I would be like, oh, why can you not just work and work and work? You have all this stuff to do. why do you have to go take a nap? I guess you have to.
Hmm.
You know, are not like strong enough, or you're not whatever it is, you know? And so sometimes during those naps, I would just be beating myself up, and like I was like, well, that was not fun and to go through that. So, but after human designing myself, I was like, I need naps. And when I go lay down, I'm actually really proud of myself. I'm
Hmm.
like, look at this. And it fuels my confidence in who I am. It fuels giving me more energy. So when we take a look at those non-energy beings and we say, hey, you need more rest, you need more downtime. It's not that you're weak. It's not that you're lazy. It's not that you're inefficient. It's just what your body needs, you know, and release judgment around that. So yeah.
So
Um,
the three that you mentioned so far from the 5 energy types are reflector, manifestor, and projector. And
yeah.
then the other two, go ahead and talk about what those are.
Yeah. So those other two are generators and manifesting generators, and they have energy. They have a natural source of energy. So they're always going, going, going all the time. And it doesn't necessarily mean like it's kind of this energizer bunny. It
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean like they're like cheerleader in your face type of thing, because we can all have kind of those different moments. But it means like you have a natural residual source of energy. You don't need as much sleep. You know, probably they're probably not getting as much sleep, you know, type of thing, quality and quantity of that. But they also can do a lot during the day. They can have lots of different projects going in lots of the time, and they can handle all the energy that it takes to do those projects, and to cheer on their team while they're doing it too, cheer on others as well. And they can quickly, in their own way, make things happen. So each design type makes things happen in different ways. But just to know, like, you know what, I have a well of energy within me. This is really cool. So I was coaching a generator, and she's like, I don't really feel like I have this well of energy. I just actually have a hard time getting things done. And I was like, well, let's look at why that is. And I'm like, I would look at um how are you really burnt out? And she's like, I am actually been living in burnout for years. And I was
Hmm.
like, well, that's part of the problem, you know? Like, so she's gonna, her natural self is gonna be like, let's get things done. But because she's so burnt out, because she's so stretched herself,
Hmm.
she's going to have this disconnect with getting things done, and then that's going to disconnect her even more. So that's going to kick her off into misalignment, which is basically she's on a whole nother map than where what feels really good to her. And feeling good in our own with ourselves is actually the X factor. That's actually what makes everything happen. It makes everything harmonic and flow and abundance come towards us when we're aware of who we are, when we're leaning into that, and we're acknowledging our wins and all the things. And so human design helps us to have that roadmap to do so.
Hmm. So tell me again, as I'm just taking notes, the two
Yeah.
categories you have I've put the reflector, manifestor, and projector into the one category. And what is that one?
Yes. That's the non-energy beings.
Okay. Okay. And then the
And
other
then the,
types, the manifesting generator and generator, are the energy beings.
yep, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So it get like allowing permission to, okay, let's lean into what our body needs. And if we're not able to show up in that way, what's off? You know, so it starts giving us language and conversation around how we can support ourselves the best or
Okay.
not judge ourselves.
Yes. So important. Non-self judgment is super, super important.
Yes.
So we've got the 5 energy types, and then each energy type has, everybody has 9 energy centers, and they are either open or closed, which is defined or undefined. So if someone's looking at their human design chart, what they're going to see is these certain spots that are either colored in or not colored in. So can you talk a little bit
Yes.
about what the energy centers are, and then what it means to be either defined or undefined?
Yeah. So human design has 9 chakras. And so chakras, all these chakras have a job, and they have a gift that they bring to the table. And so when you get your body graph, you're like, either the energy centers are running up and down the body and kind of side to side, and they're either colored in or they're white. And the colored in ones are defined, and you always have those gifts all the time. So it's like, I always have water with me all the time. It's like having a well of water, like you always have it with you all the time. So the undefined ones are gifts that you can harness by mood, environment, different interactions with people or music or things that you can harness to bring about that. And so these 9 energy centers help us to know, like, hey, if I always have this gift, I can use it more, right? We want to use our gifts to the fullest extent. And when we're not using those gifts, that misalignment or that yucky feelings come in. So the 9 energy centers are the gifts are of inspiration, of ideas, communication, love and direction, willpower, emotions, drive, energy, and intuition. And so everybody has a different combination. Even being a generator will have a different combination of energy centers. Projectors, manifestors, reflectors will have different combinations of defined and undefined energy centers. And so that's kind of where this puzzle piece, we talk about, like, human design is kind of this making a puzzle, each person has different elements in their chart, which make up this beautiful picture of them.
So if one person is a generator, they don't automatically have the same defined energy centers as another generator. Is that, am I understanding you correctly?
Okay. That's so exactly right. They always have a sacral defined, which is their energy center, but they have different mixes and matches of things going on.
That's so great to know that, because this is what I have found frustrating about some of the personality tools out there, is that they're so very narrow that when people read something and they're like, well, it probably maybe like 60% matches with what I am, but I don't resonate with a lot of the other part of that. And what I like about human design is that you can go as deep as you want to go. It's like there's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of understanding. And that what you're sharing is that even from person to person, even if you have the same, even if you have the same energy type, beneath that, it's going to look different. And so what we talked about before we hit record was that how amazing this is when you know your energy type, and when you start to bring other people around you that have complementary energy types and energy centers, that you really can have like a very full experience of life, because you're giving and taking and sharing and understanding other people in a way that maybe you didn't understand them before.
Yes, yeah, it is. And I think about it like other personality type like tests and things like that are so one-dimensional, and this is so fluid. It's just so many like different pieces, but of course, like if we just take one piece of the puzzle, that's like so cool, we're starting to get a bigger picture. And then when we're ready, we layer on other pieces in order to support ourselves, to really have to reach those goals, to expand our businesses, to back us up. All we need is us. That's what everybody else is wanting too, but sometimes that's muddled and unclarity. There's a lot of unclarity around that. And so it's really creating a clear picture, but layering on all these dimensional pieces. And we're like, oh yeah, that is so me. Well, what if I took this, like this thought that, or this part of my human design that's like, you know what, you like to experiment. You like to like see what really works. So instead of saying, oh, I failed at something, my human design is telling me, you know what, this is your process, is to figure things out and try this one thing. And if it doesn't work, try this other thing. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm just doing what my process is. And so it creates a whole nother thought process around what we're actually doing.
It's a real confidence builder to see something on paper that you're like, yes, that's exactly right. I keep thinking of just this like permission slip, like being in elementary school and you like have to go to the bathroom so bad and you get the permission slip from the teacher to like go to the bathroom. And it's like your ticket to attend to your needs in the way that you need to in those moments. And it feels like human design is this permission slip for us to attend to our needs and our desires and our core values. And it allows us to interact with other people and with our environments in a way that resonates most deeply with us. So when we are understanding and accepting things about ourselves, talk about like what this shift is then, even just energetically, like when you were talking with your client about her needs as a generator, what have you seen for yourself and for your clients as they have had these shifts in understanding about themselves? How did their lives change as they like step into that?
Yeah, it's been so amazing to see like their results, and it really does come down to this clarity and confidence. And this clarity and confidence like makes a huge difference. So like my clients are like expanding their businesses, and they're looking at having more conversations, having more opportunities, being published in magazines, like
Mm,
speaking in different events and stuff like that, because they were pointed in that direction, and they're like, oh yeah, instead of trying to do it all, they did their thing, and they're doing their thing, and they're continuing to refine their thing really well. And really that comes from this well of like, what are these gifts that I come to the table with, and how can I expand in those gifts in my business, or how can I look towards supporting my needs so that I can expand my
mm,
business. So I'm not doing all the things. It's kind of like, oh, when horses put on blinders and stuff like
mm,
that, because they can focus on the thing. It's like putting on blinders and being like, I don't care what everybody else is doing. I'm going to do it this
mm,
way. And that way is really freeing. It's like, oh, why haven't I been doing it all this way all my whole life? You know what?
mm,
This is so me, is the phrase I get so often. And that, it seems like a simple phrase, but it's really, there's a lot of shackles
mm,
and imprisonment that come off of that. Be like, just in that recognition of, wow, this is so me.
mm. The phrase that popped up for me is, I didn't know I could. So like
Oh,
in this metaphor of like the horse putting on the blinders and just focusing on the one thing, we just don't believe that we have a right to do that. So we spend so much of our lives being told by other people how we should behave, what we should be interested in, what we should pursue, what the ideal life looks like, what a successful life looks like. And what we're suggesting is that people go inward and see how things feel to them and know that they are absolutely allowed to align their lives with what resonates the most deeply for them. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know it was available to me to do that, to be that focused on what feels so genuinely aligned and true for me.
yeah. That's such a beautiful statement. I wrote that down. I was like, I didn't know I could.
Mm,
Like, that's so freeing. And when we flip the script on that and we're like, oh yeah, I can,
mm,
and then we go and do, it tells our mind like, oh yeah, you are that thing. And that's how we want to live in manifestation, and calling things towards us, is we want to already be that thing that we are wanting. We already want to embody that on an emotional level, on a
mm,
physical level. We want to feel it surrounding us, so that the identity is that thing. And then of course it's going to come towards us.
mm. There's so like I had this image of this progression from I didn't know I could to a
Mhm.
realization of I can, to what to movement towards I am. I am doing those things. And there I think most people, when they become aware of the I didn't know I could and then shift the
Mhm.
belief to the I can, that's where they get stuck. They get stuck in the I know that this is available to me now, but they don't feel like they have the tools or the permission then to move into actually doing those things. And what I have found so helpful about the energy centers is that it gives me the roadmap on how to move from I can to I am, because it teaches me how to find the courage and to lean into those defined centers to be able to like clear a pathway from I can to I am.
Yeah. I love that. I can and I am, that
Mm,
pathway is just that's such a beautiful way to phrase that. Like, and it's like um giving us that roadmap, that clear picture of how we do that. So when I do speaking things, I have the gift of communication and speaking. I always think before I go on, and I've done lots and lots, I've been on stage, done lots of podcast interviews and all the things, but I always think before, like, because you get this kind of, nerves or like excitement and stuff like that. I always think, wait a second, I have this gift. So if
mm,
I just roll with it, and if I just lean into that, we're going to be fine.
mm,
And and that has helped me through times when I'm like have a client, my client one-to-one times or my group coaching times, and I'm like, okay, I don't feel totally 100% physically.
mm.
So, but I know I have this gift. So it's already going to back me up. So just go with it and relax. And I guess
Mm.
it teaches me just to relax. It's all going to be fine.
That's
So
exactly the word that dropped in for me was like, just relax. It's like this, it's like such a sense of ease. It's such a sense of like, turning down like the frantic trying to figure it out. It's just this like, okay, yes, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. This is exactly how I'm supposed to be doing it.
yes, yeah.
Mm.
And it's a magic. It truly is magic.
So is it possible for someone to not have any defined energy centers?
Yes. So actually, reflectors have no energy centers defined. And when I was learning about this, I thought, oh, at first I was like, oh, the more defined centers you have, the better, that type of thing
Uh,
is. But there's no judgment in human design. There's no better or good or whatever. Reflectors are so powerful. They're very, very sensitive to things that are happening in the external world. They're very sensitive to emotions and intuitions of other people. They can go into a setting and they can delineate like, oh, okay, this is the unsaid conversation happening, and then
mm,
they can say it, and everybody's like, oh yeah, you're right. Thanks for sharing that with us.
mm,
So they give a beautiful perspective on life, on business, on personal, professional things, the whole works, because they have these open centers that give them feedback and information. So that's another layer of open centers, is that you'll feel like empathetic or empathy towards people, or you'll understand their feelings without them even saying things, or you'll get intuition hits because you feel the fears of other people, or you feel
mm.
their intuition hits. Um, and and so it's like a beautiful like co-creative space that reflectors can really bring in, and also energy um types that have a lot of open centers, because a generator can have a lot of open centers too.
Hmm.
So it's cool because they can be getting these feedback and be inspired by other people. It's not that they can't have a ton of ideas or inspiration. They're just getting that inspiration is being triggered by other people, or a really cool song, or a neat environment.
Mm.
And so if they know that, they can really harness those powers and be intentional about what they do about it.
I really like what you said about how there's no judgment within human design. There's no certain types that are better than other types. And what I could see happening is someone, whether they're aware of their human design type or even aware of human design or not, it seems like when we are caught up in unease is when we are trying to behave like a different energy type. So if someone does know human design and they're like, oh, I'm this type, but I really wish that I was this type, and they try and behave like that, is when there is going to be burnout, exhaustion, and a misalignment, a real struggling in life. And it's like when we can just relax, really relax into our human design type and what actually feels best for us, despite what we have been told we should be like. If we just relax into that, then that's when there's internal ease. And that's really what I think, that's really what people want more than anything. It's like any of the external circumstances can change, because they will change. That's just the nature of life, and that's the nature of this existence trying to always evolve. Is change is inevitable. But what people are really, really wanting is internal ease. We are wanting this internal flow that says, like, regardless of what's happening out here, I'm going to be okay. And what human design does is it tells people like how to be okay with exactly who they are. And I love it so much.
Yes, be okay with exactly who you are, not wanting something else. And again, this goes back to manifestation principles. Like if we want something else of someone else's or something else that they're doing, we get in this scarcity lack.
Mm.
And when we're in scarcity, it is really hard for abundance to come in, because we're like, oh, I wish I was like this person, but I'll try in my business, but those thoughts really do impact our businesses. They really do. And they impact our personal lives as well, So it's like, it's these simple things of like, we being okay with ourselves, being aware of who we are. Like, it really is a magical piece of the powerful being that we can be. It really does take us into velocity, or it takes us into this sluggish, I'm just going to muscle through it, that type of thing. So
I think you're exactly right that it's a different kind of energetic from the scarcity to abundance, and the way that other people probably would, the term that they would use is like living in a place of gratitude, living with such a deep gratitude about life. And this is like a deep gratitude of who I am in the world and what my place is in the world, and to not feel like I am insufficient somehow to do what I'm supposed to do while I'm here.
Yes. And there is this real disconnect, because we've all felt this calling to go in different directions in our lives, personally and professionally. And so when we come to that calling and we're like, okay, I want to do this. And then we get bombarded with this, you're insufficient to do what you really want to do. That's a really horrible place to live and a horrible lifestyle to be in. So transforming that thought, like, no, this is from my design. I know I have this gift, this gift, this gift that's going to back up how the calling that I had on my soul.
Yeah, it is really difficult, because I think we, not only do we have messages externally that tell us that we shouldn't do certain things, but then we also have those internal messages of like, you're not good enough to do that. Like, who do you think you are? Why do you think that you are going to be the person to flesh out this vision of what life could be like? And it doesn't even have to be something that is like real earth shattering or influences a bunch of people. It could be as simple as, like a woman who is, I would say, like a woman who is working full time and has the desire to be home with her children, and feels like for whatever reason, like the external world is telling her that she can't do that, or shouldn't do that. And the internal dialogue is also telling her like, who are you to want that? Or even like the flip side of that, for a woman that is home with her children and wants to start her own business, or wants to work, or has a big vision for her life in that way, it just is like continuing to introduce tools and methods that help us understand that the things that most deeply resonate for us are good for us, and that it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. It can make sense to you.
Yes, it can make sense to you. Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to make sense. As long as we can feel it within
Mm.
our soul, like that's our, yes, this is enough. It doesn't have to be a pros con list of like on the spreadsheet, the one column has to have the
Uh,
most, that type of thing. We don't want
yeah.
that. It just has to be, do I feel this way?
Mm.
Is this coming towards me? And do I feel like I desire it? So yeah, that's enough, and back yourself up and honor yourself in that way.
I am so good at logicking myself out of things. Like, I'll be like, I have this idea or whatever, and then my brain is like, like all of this is why it's not gonna work, and this is why it's not gonna be a good idea, and all this stuff. And I think what I hear you saying is that we can trust our bodies to tell us when something is right for us.
Yes, yeah, exactly. We can trust ourselves. And in that trusting, it's really interesting in that trusting relationship with ourselves, um, that ability to be more courageous in what we really want to do backs us up. It's like that self-talk of like, well, I'm going to discount you. We would never do that to other people.
Mm.
We would like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. That's awesome. Let's go. Yeah, go for it. You felt good about that. Do it. But so oftentimes we have this negative self-talk, and but it's hard to get out of that loop. It's hard to get out of the loop, and your brain really needs justification to jump to another paradigm, to jump to another map. And
Yeah.
so it's like it bridges, again, like, hey, I have this gift. This is what my soul is calling me to do. And so the brain is going to bridge that gap, but it needs it needs some shove in the right direction, and it needs some proof. And so with human design being based on our birth information, that's a fact. And so the brain's like, well, I do good with facts. So if that's a fact, then what Courtney's saying about my gift in this area is a fact also. So there's like, it I guess condenses that bridge. So it just the body and the brain adapt really readily to each other if through this way.
Mm. So how, like, what, I'm so curious about, like, when you came to human design, what if there is like just a one or two things that shifted pretty dramatically for you?
Mhm.
I mean, we haven't talked about this
Yeah.
at all, and I don't even
Yeah.
know if you haven't answered this question, but I'm so curious, like, what the big shift was for you.
The big shift for me was definitely confidence, like a huge amount of confidence in myself. Like I had thought for the longest time, that like there was some times where I did cool things and like things worked out well, but I was just like, maybe that was a fluke, maybe I'm not meant for more, like I'll
Mm.
just settle. A lot of settling. Oh my gosh, I was like the settler person, I'm like, I'll just settle. I have a
Uh,
fabulous husband. He's amazing. But I like settled in lots of different areas where I didn't feel like I
mm,
was good enough to actually step into it. Like I and I wish in a way I was like, man, if I would have studied this and had this in my 20s, what different pathway would I take?
mm,
What different support would I take? I even think about like, I have 4 kids and we had them pretty close together. And they're all older now, but that is exhausting. But I
mm,
didn't give myself permission to try and seek other support. You know what? I didn't. I was just like, well, I mean, you're just a tired mom. It's just what happens. But if I like, even on that level, I would have been able to show up differently as a mom because I would have
mm,
given myself some more tools. I think of like the career that I have now, and like how, like, I was even talking to my sister and she lives in Vegas and she's like, how do you even get up there and speak and on stage? And she's like, that would make me so
mm,
nervous. And I was like, well, I have that gift. And so it's going to show up for me, And as I've done that, as I've like taken little bitty steps and experimented on it, I was like, that's actually really fun. I
mm,
really love that, And so it's like, and it's allowed me to expand my business, or to even have a business, because I'm like, I am so much more confident in my abilities,
mm,
and I'm so much more confident in speaking up about my needs. I'm like, um, I'm not answering messages usually late at night. because that's my time to relax and rest. And I don't feel like I have to be on all the time. So, so I guess, yeah, it's like a lot of confidence, massive amount of confidence,
Hmm.
massive amount of clarity.
Yeah. That's huge. And I think that's what many, many people really want. And I think that thank you so much for sharing that, because your insight into the struggle that many have with the settling. Many of us feel like, well, things are like good enough. Things are they're not awful, and so we kind of get stuck in this, like, yeah, just this settling space, instead of, because things aren't painful enough for us to make big shifts in our life. But
Mhm.
then we also then are not believing that what we want is even possible for us. And so what it sounds like is that human design really made what is possible, um possible, truly possible in your brain, not just something that's like, that would be nice if, but it was like, that can actually happen if I lean into who I really am, if I uncover and am led
Mhm.
by who I am at my core, if I am walking in alignment, what I believe is possible for me actually is possible. And
Yes.
many people just get stuck in settling. There's this, like, false
Yeah.
sense of ease there. And what you're
Yes.
saying with human design is it actually helps you feel at ease. Like a real ease. It's not
Yes.
a faux ease that comes just with being comfortable and settling. It's a ease that comes with living in alignment.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Mm,
It's like this ease and happiness, and oftentimes we think happiness is just for like people who have an easy life, and that's
mm,
not the fact. I mean, you and I have discussed our challenges with each other, and not even scratch the surface on all the layers
mm,
of those challenges, and everybody is struggling with something big. Everybody has multiple big things going on, but to like have an anchor in peace and happiness that comes from the source of us, like that's a really beautiful thing to bring to the table. And I think like I look even like generationally, like each generation gets better and better, and I look at my kids and how at ease they are of being themselves
mm,
and speaking up and acknowledging the process of growing and growth has been so beautiful. And so, and I've used their designs not like to be like, okay, this year chart said this, that type of thing.
mm,
But I'm like, I coach to their design. I'm like, I know that my 16-year-old doesn't like to be micromanaged. And so I don't need to get mad at that. I just need to be like,
mm,
hey, you have a couple choices here that both I like. So what would you like to do?
mm,
And it acknowledges his and honors him. And I want them to have a legacy of honoring themselves as well. I feel like, that's for personally for them and professionally for them, that makes such a vital difference in who they're becoming.
mm. I hear the importance for us as parents to do this introspective work, to continue to break down generational trauma and patterns and
Mhm.
heal, and that the byproduct of us leaning into who we are and becoming more confident and pursuing the lives that are in alignment is that's the gift that we give our children as well, that they, like you said, like, I wish I had these tools when I was 20. Your children have those tools at 20 because of you. And that is like, that's
Yeah.
such
Mm.
a, oh, like, I feel lit up about that. Like the weight and responsibility and joy that comes with being able to impart wisdom and awareness to our children that we didn't get when we were kids, because it was a different time. And like you said, like, there is this collective evolution toward greater consciousness and awareness, and that as we're doing this with our kids, like they're coming to these tools and this introspection much, much sooner than we ever did. And that makes me so profoundly hopeful.
Yes, it is so hopeful, like I just think how strong this generation is.
Mm,
And again, like it's because we have learned to help them in a
mm.
different way. And we couldn't use our same paradigm that our parents
Right.
used, like that just does not work.
Uh-huh.
So, but it's okay. Like we can make this new roadmap and we can use this personalized approach to them and
Mm,
really honor them and honor their souls and stuff. But often when my kids were born, I was like, could you just give me a roadmap to these guys or a booklet, a handout
mm,
to each child? Because they're all so different,
yeah.
but this is their booklet,
Mm,
this is like how we can help encourage them and navigate them through these different things and know when they're misaligned, like when I have a couple of generator daughters and one of them was not feeling a lot of energy and things. And so I was like, okay, something is off. Let's look and see how can we build support around you and how can
mm,
we change that and channel that so that you can really feel more you. And so
mm,
she's in a really good place and building this life of her dreams and doing it with energy
mm,
because I noticed that was misaligned and off. And so we
mm.
can take that is off for a reason, let's
Yeah.
figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I wish you would create a course that was like how to use human design to parent your children effectively.
That has been on my heart. And it's so funny because I just had a
Mm,
conversation with, I'm going to do a parenting conference. And so it's been on my heart for a while. My background is in marriage and family therapy. And
mm,
so it's always been an area where I've just loved. So I'm trying to figure it out. Like, how do I bring this piece to the puzzle, to the picture
mm.
for families?
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Yeah. That's so exciting. So many of us go through life being unaware that other people are just not what like us. Like we somehow think like everything that is normal to me is therefore normal to everyone, and everything that makes sense to me is how it makes sense to everybody.
Yes.
And that, there's one of the many gifts from human design was this really like deep understanding that not everybody is wired like I am. And so my work is to, number one, to let other people be exactly who they are. And number two is learn the communication skills to be able to communicate with people in a way that makes sense to them.
Yes.
Amazing how much that
Yeah.
improves our relationships.
It really does. It is magical. It's like, and it's a simple little pivot, like a little
Mm,
betterment, and it makes all the difference with connection because that's all we want, right? Is
mm,
to connect with others personally, professionally, in our families, all around. And it's a miracle sometimes to me that we actually all work together somehow.
mm.
But like if we could have some help with that, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love it for this reason too.
Well, thank you so much for introducing us to this helpful tool,
Yes.
and for your insight into what human design is. And if people want to learn more about human design and have some help understanding their human design, where can they find you?
Oh, they can find me on my website at courtneykoenig.com and you can get your chart on there. It's a free chart. I have a guide that teaches you about your human design as well. And I'm all on Facebook and Instagram. So always message me and connect with me there.
And your name is Courtney, and then your
Yeah,
last name is Koenig. Did I say
correct.
that all
Yep.
correctly? I should have just
Yep,
let
you
you do
did.
it instead of being like
No,
muddle my way through that.
no, it was brilliant. You did a great.
And then of course, all of your information is going to be in the show notes as well. So people can really easily find all of your offerings. And yeah, just, I really encourage all of my listeners to get their human design chart. And even if you just scratch the surface of what human design is, just to find things that resonate with you and make you, like you said, make you feel more you, make me feel more me.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Morgan, for having me on. This was such a beautiful
Mm,
conversation. You have such a powerful gift of speaking and sharing and really like this thought leader. And I just feel like this was a magical conversation that I'm going to go back and listen to for myself. So
Oh,
thank you.
fantastic. Thank you, Courtney. And for everybody, before we go, P.S. we expire.